Okay, so we are reading Act 4, Scene 3, and we are at the top of page 893 in our book. Brutus and Cassius just had that argument because, Cassius accepts bribes and he didn't give Brutus money for the troops, and Brutus was ticked off, and Cassius went all manipulative and drama queen and was just acting crazy. They make up. They're having a glass of wine. We find out at the end that Portia has killed herself by swallowing fire. That is where we left off. We're going to continue at the top of 893, page 893, with Titinius and Messala coming in.
Come in, Titinius. Welcome, good Messala. Now, sit we close about this taper here and call in question our necessities.
Portia, art thou gone?
No more, I pray you. Messala, I have here received letters that young Octavius and Mark Antony come down upon us with a mighty power, bending their expedition toward Philippi.
Myself have letters of the self-same tenor.
With what addition?
That by prescription and bills of outlawry, Octavius, Antony, and Lepidus have put to death 100 senators.
Therein our letters do not well agree. Mine speak of 70 senators that died by their prescriptions, Cicero being one.
Cicero won.
Cicero is dead, and by that order of prescription. Had you your letters from your wife, my lord?
No, Messala.
Nor nothing in your letters rid of her?
Nothing, Messala.
That, methinks, is strange.
Why ask you? Hear you aught of her in yours?
No, my lord.
Now, as you are a Roman, tell me true.
Then like a Roman bear the truth I tell. For certain she is dead, and by strange manner.
Why? Farewell, Portia. We must die, Messala. With meditating that she must die once, I have the patience to endure it now.
Even so, great men great losses should endure.
I have as much of this in art as you, but yet my nature could not bear it so.
Well, to our work, alive. What do you think of marching to Philippi presently?
I do not think it good.
Your reason?
This it is. 'Tis better that the enemy seek us. So shall he waste his means, weary his soldiers, doing himself offense, whilst we, lying still, are full of rest, defense, and nimbleness.
Good reason.
Okay, let's pause for just a second. Okay, so whenever the other men come in, Cassius has said, Portia, art thou gone? And Brutus said, no more, I pray you. And they start talking about the letters that Messala has brought in and just kind of what's going on. Octavius and Antony come down upon us with a mighty power, bending their expedition toward Philippi. And then Messala says, then they give this report. They say, Octavius, Antony, and Lepidus have put to death 100 senators. Okay, so already in this act, we have Portia is dead. So that's another death. Brutus says, there in our letters do not well agree. Mine speak of 70 senators that died. By their prescription, Cicero being one of them. Cicero won, Cicero's dead. Okay, so now we know 70 to 100 senators have been killed. We also know Cicero is dead. So those are the deaths so far in Act 4. And then Messala says, hey, have you heard from your wife, from Portia, Brutus? And Brutus is like, no, why? Or have you heard any news of her? No, why? And he says, then like a Roman bear the truth I tell, for certain she is dead, and by strange manner. Brutus says, farewell, Portia. We all must die, Messala. It's funny because in the private moment with Cassius, Brutus kind of shows grief. He's a bit more vulnerable. He's a bit more transparent. But here he has his other men around him, and he's like, everybody dies. Yep, carry on. Let's plan this battle. And that's how he's acting publicly. So a little bit of a different idea of private versus public grief and kind of how we act sometimes with different people. Not everybody sees our vulnerability, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody shouldn't see that side of you. So interesting that we see that in Brutus. Okay. And then they're talking about, what do you think of marching to Philippi? And Cassius says, I do not think it good. And Brutus wants to know, well, why don't you think that's good? It's just better to let the enemy seek us. So shall he waste his means, weary his soldiers, doing himself offense, whilst we, lying still, are full of rest, defense, and nimbleness. So part of Cassius's strategy right now is just sit back and wait for the other army to get to them. Brutus wants to go to Philippi and meet them head on.
Reasons must of force give place to better. The people twixt Philippi and this ground do stand but in a forced affection, for they have grudged us contribution. The enemy marching along by them shall make a fuller number up, come on refreshed, new added, and encouraged. From which advantage shall we cut him off? If at Philippi we do face him there, these people at our back.
Hear me, good brother.
Under your pardon, you must note besides that we have tried the utmost of our friends. Our legions are brimful, our cause is ripe. The enemy increaseth every day. We at the height are ready to decline. There is a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries. On such a full sea are we now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves, or lose our ventures.
Then with your will, go on. We'll along ourselves and meet them at Philippi.
The deep of night has crept upon our talk, and nature must obey necessity, which we will niggard with a little rest. There is no more to say?
No more. Good night. Early tomorrow will we rise, and hence.
Lucius, my gown. Farewell, good Messala. Good night, Titinius. Noble, noble Cassius. Good night, and good repose.
Oh, my dear brother. This was an ill beginning of the night. Never come such division between our souls. Let it not, Brutus.
Okay, so Brutus has said, I think it would be good if we did march toward Philippi. Between here and Philippi, the people are not on our side. And if we let Mark Antony and Octavius march toward us, they're going to amass more and more people in their army as they're marching because the people are with them. So if we march toward Philippi, then they won't have as big of an army by the time we get there. That's part of his idea of why to go to Philippi. And then Cassius cuts in. He's like, hear me, good brother. And Bruce says, under your pardon, excuse me, I was not finished. He says, also, we have tried the utmost of our friends. Our legions are brimful. Our cause is ripe. The enemy increaseth every day. We're at the end. We've gotten everybody on our side that we can. We have all the men fighting for us that want to. But they're getting more people on their side every day. We need to fight them sooner rather than later. It will help us. We at the height are ready to decline. There is a tide in the affairs of men which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and miseries. On such a full sea are we now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves, or lose our ventures. So he's kind of talking about this ebb and flow of life and the opportunities of life, and sometimes you have to kind of leap into the current and let it take you a little bit. You have to jump at opportunities that kind of show themselves to you, is what Brutus is saying. So Cassius is like, well then, with your will, go on. We'll along ourselves and meet them at Philippi. So okay, well, good point. We'll go ahead and go to Philippi then, like you said. So now it's nighttime. Everybody's leaving Brutus's chamber. He's getting into his dressing gown, and everybody's about to go to bed.
Everything is well.
Good night, my lord.
Good night, good brother.
Good night, Lord Brutus.
Farewell, everyone. Give me the gown. Where is thy instrument?
Here in the tent.
What? Thou speakst drowsily. Poor knave, I blame thee not. Thou art o'erwatched. Call Claudius and some other of my men. I'll have them sleep on cushions in my tent.
Varro and Claudius.
Okay, Brutus seems to be worried about not being able to sleep. He asked Lucius where his instrument is because he wants to hear some music. Lucius is tired, and so he's like, call Claudius and Varro, have them sleep in my tent. So he seems to be nervous.
Calls, my lord?
I pray you, sirs, lie in my tent and sleep. It may be I shall raise you by and by on business to my brother Cassius.
So please you, we will stand and watch your pleasure.
I will not have it so. Lie down, good sirs. It may be I shall otherwise bethink me.
They lie down.
Look, Lucius, here's the book I sought for, sir. I put it in the pocket of my gown.
I was sure your lordship did not give it me.
Bear with me, good boy. I'm much forgetful. Canst thou hold up thy heavy eyes a while and touch thy instrument a strain or two?
Aye, my lord, and please you.
It does, my boy. I trouble thee too much, but thou art willing.
It is my duty, sir.
I should not urge thy duty past thy might. I know young bloods look for a time of rest.
I have slept, my lord, already.
It was well done, and thou shalt sleep again. I will not hold thee long. If I do live, I will be good to thee. This is a sleepy tune. Oh, murderous slumber. Layest thou thy leaden mace upon my boy that plays thee music? Gentle knave, good night. I will not do thee so much wrong to wake thee. Oh, if thou
Lucius
dost
fell
not, thou
asleep.
breakst thy instrument. I'll take it from thee. And good boy, good night. Let me see. It's not the leaf turned down where I left reading. Ah, here it is, I think.
A ghost
How
enters.
ill this taper burns.
Ghost of Caesar.
Ha! Who comes here? I think it is the weakness of mine eyes that shapes this monstrous apparition. It comes upon me. Art thou anything? Art thou some god, some angel, or some devil that makes my blood cold and my hair to stare? Speak to me what thou art.
Thy evil spirit, Brutus.
Why comest thou?
To tell thee thou shalt see me at Philippi.
Well, then I shall see thee again.
Aye, at Philippi.
Why? I will see thee at Philippi then. Now I have taken heart, thou vanishest. Ill spirit! I would hold more talk with thee. Boy, Lucius. Varro! Claudius, sirs, awake! Claudius!
Okay, so he was having trouble sleeping. He's had these two other soldiers come and lay down in his tent. And then he goes ahead and goes to Lucius. He's like, hey, buddy, can you play for me? Because I just can't get to sleep. And Lucius is like yawning. Sure, you know, and so he plays. But he falls asleep while he's playing. Oops. And then in this quiet time after the music, a ghost enters. And it's the ghost of Caesar. And the ghost of Caesar says, well, Brutus says, why comest thou? And the ghost says, to tell you that you'll see me at Philippi. Wait, so if you're going to see Caesar, now Caesar's dead. So if you're going to see Caesar, how would you see Caesar? If you're alive. Oh. So when Brutus gets to Philippi, he's gonna see Caesar. So now the ghost, of course, goes, and he wakes up all of his men.
The strings, my lord, are false.
He thinks he still is at his instrument. Lucius, awake!
My lord?
Didst thou dream, Lucius, that thou so criedst out?
My lord, I do not know that I did cry.
Yes, that thou didst. Didst thou see anything?
Nothing, my lord.
Sleep again, Lucius. Sirrah, Claudius, fellow, thou, awake!
My lord, my lord.
Why did you so cry out, sirs, in your sleep?
Did we, my lord?
Aye, Saw you anything?
No, my lord, I saw nothing.
Nor I, my lord.
Go and commend me to my brother Cassius. Bid him set on his powers betimes before, and we will follow.
It
It shall be done, my lord.
So he woke everybody up to see if they saw anything. They didn't. Lucius didn't see anything. Varro and Claudius didn't see anything. Nope, buddy, that was just for you, Brutus. The ghost of Caesar just visited you to tell him, hey, I'm going to see you again, good buddy, really soon in Philippi. It's going to be awesome. So, oh no. So Brutus sends word to Cassius to tell him, go on, let's get moving. Good enough on trying to get some sleep. Let's get the army up and let's get moving to Philippi. So that is the end of Act 4. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and upload these, and hopefully you read along. You can answer the questions nicely. Don't forget to email if you have any questions or you're having difficulties of any kind, okay? Okay, see ya.